Welcome, everyone, to this wonderful episode where Dina and I are going to put yet another product under the microscope. So today we're talking about a product. Well, let me back up before we talk about the product. There's a category of supplements, Dina, and I'm sure, I don't know how much this comes about you and across your desk and computer, but pre-workout supplements come across my desk probably every single day. Which one should I do? What's good? What's not good? What's out there? And quite honestly, I researched this quite a bit a few weeks ago. There are a ton of pre-workout supplements on the market. You feel the same way?
Oh my gosh. Yes. They've been around for a long time, right? But
Yeah.
it seems like Wild West in what qualifies as pre-workout. But I always thought of, oh, it's just a caffeine major hit. But as we'll talk about today and some of these variations of what a pre-workout can look like, it's certainly come a long way from just simply being a huge hit of caffeine and stimulant.
Yeah, because back in the days, check.
Oh, yay.
We literally used to just talk about caffeine, right? Dose it based
Yes.
on kilograms of body weight. Good, you're good. Let's find a source. Boom, you're good to go. So then all these things came on the market and Red Bulls and everything. And then I think Red Bull kind of started that process, and all these companies were like, oh, we could get into that. We can just tinker with the ingredients. And then we saw a lot of dangers, right? There were some deaths, unfortunately, with taking energy drinks, specifically these, call them pre-workout, call them energy, like whatever you want. But most people take these things for pre-workout purposes. However, let's not disregard, a lot of people are taking pre-workout supplements just to kind of get through their day, right? To get through that energy lull throughout in the afternoon, whatever. So when we say pre-workout supplements, we're talking about anything that can help with cognitive functioning and physical exercise tasks, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a pre-workout, but we are lumping it into pre-workout. With all that said, as Dina, as you mentioned, I kind of classify it when I'm talking to someone about pre-workout supplements. I classify it as, is it a stimulant or is it a non-stimulant based? And really what I'm talking about is caffeine, right? That's the thing that kind of separates things in my mind. I have to be careful. I work quite a bit with college athletes, elite athletes, professional athletes. So I have to kind of be careful with the whole what's going in these things. I have to make sure that there are third-party certifications, which everybody should anyway. FYI, we've done podcast or episodes on that in the past. But this current one that we are analyzing under the microscope I just got introduced to this recently, and a little bit of background. It is called, and I'm going to show this for those of you who are watching us on YouTube. Yes, by the way, we do have a YouTube channel. We put all of our podcast episodes on our ISN podcast YouTube channel. But this is what the product is. It's called Flow. The company is called Oomph. So I actually talked to the CEO founder of this company a while ago, and one of my first questions was, well, the why, right? But the why, what's up with the name? I'm always curious with naming. I'm like, I find it so interesting why people name certain things what they name it. And I was talking to him, which, by the way, fantastic guy. He actually used to be an NFL player for the New Orleans Saints. So he's been around sport. He grew up in sport, and I'll give you more background in a second. But his why behind the product was that he wishes he would have had a non-stimulant based kind of a pre-workout powder or option when he was playing football, right? Didn't really exist. It wasn't third-party certified. So he, after his playing career, he wanted to satisfy that and provide something, right? So he did. So let me go back to the name of the company. I'm like, how did you decide on Oomph? Because Oomph is kind of I don't know, it's a very unique name. And he's like, I was just thinking of things, and I just wanted to something unique, but I wanted one word. And I wanted it to be unique, and I wanted it to kind of mean like that, like you could go more, like you could do more. And Oomph came up. And I was like, what? It's kind of genius, because one, you'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Like once you hear Oomph, Dina, I mean, you're going to always remember that.
I agree. I often use this word, actually, Bob, when I'm trying to just, make light of something, like, oh, well, let's do this for a little bit more oomph in your day.
Yeah.
And it's also just so fun to say, aside
It is a
from
fun word. It is a fun word. Yeah.
symbolizing like what the intention is. But that's super cool.
I know it is. I always kind of like these backstories, right? So this product, it's called Flow. It is a pre-workout supplement. They say it's a sport performance supplement. I would say it's not just a pre-workout supplement, and I will tell you why here in the next few minutes. But let me give you a little background on this too. The reason why I really kind of came about and found this product because I was searching, right? I was doing a little research product for some of my athletes. I'm like, I need to find things that are safe, that are legal, effective, have clinical relevance, also that, don't have crazy ingredients in them, but also have ingredients that are clinically effective, like in clinically effective doses, right? So I came up on this, and I had a conversation with the gentleman, and with that too, on the conversation, on the call that I had with him, was also one of our fellow sport dietitians. So interestingly enough, he partnered with a sport dietitian to formulate this. So right there, I was so, number one, respectful, and it gave me much more confidence because, again, how many companies do we see, Dina, is just like, hey, mix some pills, powders, potions, or whatever together, put it in a bottle, call it good, try to sell it. This guy is, I respect it a lot because, again, he has a sport dietitian on his team who has basically helped him create what should go in here, at what dosages, and then explaining when to use it. Okay. So that's street cred in my mind right there. The other thing with Flow is, I don't know if you can see it on the label, but this wonderful little logo, it says Informed Sport. So another reason why I had a conversation with him, I'm like, hey, I just want to tell you how wonderful it is that you actually have your product certified by Informed Sport. Thank you so much. That means I can use it with athletes who may get drug tested in the future. So that's another bonus to this. All right. So all of that said, Dee, you've got to look at it a little bit. I've actually tried it a couple times, so I'll share my experiences. Okay. But what's your at first glance? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, well, I went to the website, and I haven't tried it, Bob, but thanks for bringing it to my table here, virtually anyways. I certainly, within seconds went to the supplement facts label, because obviously that's a good starting point. Like, what is in this thing? And I was immediately delighted to see that this was not a proprietary blend of this, that, and the other thing. So that was one of the very first things that I noticed, is that the ingredients are actually noted with detail by line item, so we know what the exact amount is, again, based on the label, and knowing this is Informed Sport, which I did note right away. Like, okay, I can trust where we're looking here, and then, of course, taking stock of, like, what is the intention behind this formulation.
Exactly. And kind of, I mean, if you see it again, I'll show this one more time. If you look at this, again, if you're on your YouTube channel, like on the front of the package, this is what I love. It actually tells you the 4 ingredients and what dosages. I love that, because then you're not searching in these really, like you have to put on some microscopic glasses, right? And you're like, I can't read that. I mean, I love that I love it when companies do this. They put it straight up. They're like, hey, this is how much of this. Boom, boom, boom. It's like the RX bars, right? You just like boom, boom, boom. Yeah. That's what's in here, right? Totally. Love that to death. Yeah.
I mean, for maybe some average consumers, they may not know what a couple of these ingredients.
Right.
So there's a little more detail on that for the consumer. But that is a really good point. You don't have to kind of hunt and peck for what is this thing and what is in it.
Yes. Okay, so let's tell everyone what this is not. This is not a stimulant base. There's no caffeine. There is nothing that will necessarily provide that stimulation to your central nervous system. However, I would argue, do we really need that, right? And I've done both. I've used a product. I've used Flow. I've used other products in the past, straight up beetroot, like all this stuff, right? And then I've used caffeinated products. So I can say, N of one, I do feel a difference in using those different types of products, whether or not they are stimulant-based, i.e. caffeine-based, or non-caffeine-based. Okay. But first, before I share, drum roll, all that stuff, let's tell our listeners what is in here, because there's 4 main ingredients. Okay. Do you want to go there? Or you want me to start?
Well, I could start with that this is, not a carbohydrate kind of based pre-workout. And there is, when you think of, because this is a powder, you mix in water, maybe other liquid of choice, but I think water is recommended.
Definitely.
electrolyte formulation. So that's like one of the first things that you kind of note. I'm impressed, Bob, too, just speaking of the electrolyte profile here. As we've talked many times before, there are so many variations and versions of electrolyte products that often miss the mark on, like when you're thinking of pre-workout, I'm preparing to soon do a workout.
Right.
How can I prepare my body other than just drinking water, which we talked about recently in an episode with Chris Harris from Precision Hydration. Do we need some extra electrolytes to help us better prepare from a hydration status perspective? So the sodium amount being fairly decent here at 820 milligrams.
I mean, that's solid.
It's solid. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be a little much for some people, but again, we can talk about the context in which you might use this product. That can help determine, okay, yeah, this is appropriate, or maybe, for certain situations, maybe not.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's one of the first things. I think that would count in your 4 ingredient kind of.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one that's listed on the front, and I love that. That was actually the first thing I told these guys was like, wow, I'm really impressed that you put 820 milligrams of sodium in here. And I said the same thing. I said some of my athletes that may be a little much, but not. I mean, a very, very minority of people, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. But they were like, yeah. But that's like the whole point of, like, if you think about it, the founder was an ex-NFL guy, right? So they sweat a ton if you think about that. So, but no, okay. So we've got electrolytes, we've got sodium, we've got chloride, got potassium, magnesium, fantastic, right? So the next one is beetroot nitrates. So I feel like everyone pretty much knows about beetroot, beets, nitrates, right? Nitrates, I mean, these things can improve vasodilation in your body. Improving vasodilation means you can deliver more oxygen to and from your working muscles. You can basically deliver more nutrients. So we actually want better vasodilation, and we know clinically that beetroot and beets, nitrate powder, we know it works, right? My argument is, like, how much? Because I've seen the research, and from what I've read, beetroot just by itself can improve performance of what I've read 1 to 3%. So, maybe for you and I, that doesn't matter. But I would also argue maybe not for performance, but for health, because I actually have a lot of individuals taking beetroot powder supplements for health purposes, healthy blood pressure, healthy vasodilation, right? So I feel like nitrates, beetroot powder, they should probably be in everyone's daily nutrition plan, whether it's supplemental or from a food source. However, you can't eat that many beets to get how much they put in here. But so beetroot, I mean, fantastic. I love that it's in here. I was a little worried because I was like, oh, whenever you put beetroot in a product, it changes things. It changes the taste. It basically makes it taste like dirt, right? Which kind of makes sense. And I brought that up with these guys when I talked to them. They're like, yeah, we've been through a couple formulations. We think we have a really good one now that doesn't hide it, but it doesn't bark, beetroot, right, when you consume it. I'll give you my personal opinion towards the end of this episode.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment at all about the amount?
Oh, yeah. So they put in 450 milligrams. What is the range? I think, what is it? Is it 300 to 600 milligrams?
I think so, maybe upwards of a gram or so.
Yeah.
So I was, thinking of all the products we looked at over the years.
Right.
Like, wow, this is not wimpy.
Not wimpy
because
at
there's
all.
some products that's, marketing like, yay, we got beetroot. And then it is like the equivalent of a quarter of a beet that you would eat. And it's kind of like, well, it's helpful, but it's not effective maybe for what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's like it's there just to put it on as a line item in the ingredients, basically. Yeah. So these guys do a great job. 450 milligrams of beetroot nitrates, fantastic, right? Next one, rhodiola rosea. So what do we know about rhodiola, Dee?
Yeah, well, it being an adaptogen. So first of all, adaptogens been around for a long time, thousands of years.
And thousands.
Plant extract. When I think of rhodiola being an adaptogen, I mean, I kind of think about, it's kind of sounding cliche, but like stress management, but just like even keel, kind of leveling out is basic, that's like layperson terms, but there's a whole host of benefits for rhodiola ingestion, especially over numerous days. So, kind of
Yeah.
getting it into your system. I didn't look at their exact phrasing of how they tout the benefits of rhodiola in this formulation.
Yeah. I think it's for a mental focus also, and kind of that mental energy, right? I feel like, because as we know, I mean, a lot of different adaptogens do different things in the body, many different things in the body, right? So,
Yeah.
and while there are opposing like rhodiola versus ashwagandha, right? Rhodiola is definitely more of that, the energy, the brain focus, mental clarity one, that you actually want to take earlier in the day, by the way, if you do take this.
And amount, this is another one. It's in a sweet spot,
It is, isn't it?
Bob.
400 milligrams.
And I like how they actually break down the source there on the label. Because that's another thing when we talk about the whole plant, like which part is the most concentrated or
Yep.
most effective,
Yep.
which we don't have to go into all that science, but that is stated here and appears to be a very valid source and dose of the rhodiola.
And then the last one is lion's mane. So that I feel like that's been becoming much more popular these days. Again, it's been around for years. I mean, Chinese medicine has really, I think, taught Western medicine a thing or two, right? But
Yeah.
lion's mane, I feel like people use it for different things. My focus with lion's mane is really that cognitive stimulation, cognitive energy, cognitive functioning, right? And I feel like that's why a lot of people use lion's mane. And you'll see actually like coffee infused with lion's mane now, like mushroom coffee. You see all over the place, right? But I love it. And so when I see lion's mane, 1,000 milligrams. So again, all of these dosages are within clinically effective ranges. I looked all of them up. You looked all of them up. So they are really hitting the mark. They're not just kind of shying away from this, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That said, when you look at beetroot, rhodiola, lion's mane, it should kind of tell you, and no caffeine, it should tell you what they're trying to do. And the name of the product itself with flow, that is a mental flow. That is a cognitive flow. So this pre-workout or sport performance supplement is really meant to improve cognitive functioning and cognitive energy level. It's not to provide that central nervous system stimulation hit with caffeine where maybe you come up and down pretty quickly. This is like the flow, which we should also or tell our listeners, they have a pretty set protocol of when to use it too, right? So normal pre-workouts, we're usually dosing those which have caffeine, or we're recommending those to take 30 to 60 minutes before a workout, right? Well, did you catch what these guys are doing with their product?
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
two couple hours in advance, right?
2 to
Or
3 hours.
Yeah.
Because again, they want the time that it needs for these ingredients to start working from a cognitive standpoint takes a little more time than just that caffeine rush. So again, maybe that's one thing. Like I've used this on a few of my college athletes. I'm like, the only thing is you do have to consume it a couple hours before practice. If you have a morning practice or a morning workout, that might be a little bit of a pain in the butt, right? But again, the whole purpose of this is not the high and low caffeine, right, stimulation. It's the very steady flow of cognitive energy. And that's, I don't know, I mean, I respect what they're doing in this category right now.
Well, I'll be curious how it tastes. And
Yeah.
I was just noting the other ingredients,
Yeah.
how we look at, like, how do they sweeten it? I mean, I can see on the label here stevia extract, but I'll be curious how sweet it tastes.
Yeah.
And thinking of beetroot and trying to make this thing
I know.
palatable.
I can't imagine trying to actually make it palatable, right? They did, and I can't remember what version they said until they finally brought it to market, how many versions they were on, but they were like, wow, that was the difficult part.
Okay.
I also agree. I was really pleased that it was sweetened with stevia, or stevia and monk fruit are kind of my top two. I was really pleased not
Yeah.
to see sucralose in there or any aspartame. So great job by them with doing that. All right. So the way they described it was it tastes decent, right? So I was like, okay. So I tried it, and I think it says it mix it in. Are you on their website, D? Mix it in
Yeah.
like 12 to 16 ounces of, or
I
16
think
ounces of
it's,
water.
yeah,
Okay.
16, at least
So
16.
I
Yep.
usually cruise around with like my big shaker bottle, right? So
Yeah.
with that said, my shaker bottle is 24 ounces. I mixed it in with 16 ounces first because I do due diligence with every company, with their recommendations. When I put this packet into 16 ounces of water, it was sweet. Now
Oh, was it?
they must use a really high level stevia, like a good quality stevia, because I was like, it's a little bit too sweet for me. But here's the other thing, D. We've talked about this before in the past, and I love like dark chocolate, but I've created I've changed my taste preferences. When you become more metabolically efficient, you actually don't crave a lot of sweet things. And when you do have sweet things, they are very sweet. So maybe it's just me. Like I'm super metabolically efficient right now. That's what I've been doing. So when I tried this, I was like, whoa, I need some more water. When I put it in my 24-ounce shaker bottle with water, it was fine.
Yeah.
Right. So I just
Okay.
needed to dilute it a little bit more. But that's
Did you
me personally.
did you try both flavors?
I did lemon, lime,
Okay.
and watermelon.
Yeah.
I like both. I feel like I gravitate more towards the watermelon, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It
Okay.
just had a. Actually, I don't even know why. It
Yeah.
just tasted better to me. Yeah,
Is this a fizzy,
not at all.
effervescent or
Not at
okay.
all.
Uh-huh.
No, it's
Yeah.
very just no
Good.
effervescence, which makes it nice because you're going to consume this a couple hours before training. Or I'll tell you, in my case, when I used it the second time, you don't want that potential GI upset from any type of bubbles in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so anything before I get into my trials, anything else that we need to talk about?
Well, what type of athletes
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
training sessions, practices would
Okay.
you say this is most suited for?
So here's my professional opinion on this. And if we're talking about training, practice, exercise, that kind of thing, endurance athletes for sure. I don't think it matters what type of endurance athlete, swim, bike, run, trail, hiking, fast pack, doesn't matter, right? I think it's fantastic for all. My only sticker was, and this is what I told him, I said, because I do work with some let's just call it more aesthetic athletes. So maybe those who do not want a high load of sodium. So for me, it's for my athlete, gymnastics, divers, meaning like swim dive,
Yeah.
not divers under the ocean. So those who where potentially if you have a too high of a dose of sodium that may cause a little bit of puffiness because you're storing more water,
Yeah.
that's the only time or only athlete I could think of like maybe they don't use that. But here's the thing, right? If you're doing it before practice, and it's actually a valid practice, you're going to be sweating. Maybe it's outdoors, maybe it's indoors in a hot gym. Like, I don't think that matters. I think it cancels out. I don't think 820 milligrams of sodium is even too much for a small gymnast. I really don't. Now, you're not going to just drink this during the day, right? I mean, you could, but there's a purpose to this, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
I don't know. I think if I were to prioritize it, it would be in that priority, but I can't think of one athlete where this would not be beneficial because of the cognitive functioning benefit that this is actually focused on. Yeah.
And, this might just be a little nitpicky, Bob,
Yeah.
but your opinion on acute benefit versus taking this like almost on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I were to take this once a month, am I
Yeah.
getting benefit out of that single
It's a
hit
very
of
good question.
oomph flow, or is really should be used a little bit more consistently, maybe in bigger training blocks and things like that?
Yeah. So typically with a pre-workout product that has caffeine, it could be one and done, and we usually don't tell athletes to take it every day, right? With a product like this, because it has beetroot in it, you actually need slash want slash need it to use it for, I would say, at least 5 to 7 days to get maximum benefits, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're in an important training block, or maybe it's like maybe you're following a 2 or 3 week build, take it once a day in your build cycle for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is definitely not, because it's not a stimulant, this is not something you just take once and leave it, right?
Yeah.
Now, I have not been taking it consistently. I've kind of, because I wanted to do both, right? And
Yeah.
I've not gone to my second trial of taking it every single day for a week or two. That's my next experiment. So I just kind of did the one-off. But yeah, to our listeners, for something like this, you do want to take it at least for a week, in a row, if not longer. I mean, I could justify taking this every single day of your life, essentially, for the health benefits, right? Yes, it does have a good amount of sodium. So yes, you do still need to be active and exercising. But for the nitrates, for the rhodiola, the lion's mane, absolutely every day I could justify that.
Yeah. Let's hear about your experience today.
Okay, so the first thing I took it 2 hours before not a long for me right now, is a 10-mile trail run, right? Trails that I'm running right now, a little bit technical, windy, rocks, all that stuff. So with that, I needed to set that up because obviously you need to pay attention a lot more, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And it was a morning. I usually try not to do too much important training in the morning because my body is just not primed yet. So I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'll take this and I'll go for my trail run. I will tell you that I did not, because I dabble with pre-workout powders also, because I like to try the different ones on the market. So having this flow not be a stimulant and trying it in a morning trail run that's kind of technical, right away I was like, okay, I don't feel that caffeine rush. And I didn't know what I would feel. It was probably like a mile or two into my run. And I'm like, wow, I'm able to, I don't know how to best describe this. Anyone who does any type of trail running or hiking, you will understand what I'm saying. But I was able to focus on my foot placement and my body awareness, my proprioception, much better than I would normally. And call it a placebo effect, call it whatever. But again, I specifically tried in the morning when I am not really great at training. That's why I put it to the test, because I wanted to see. So I felt more clear and more focused, meaning I could actually, I know where my foot is going. I can, without like overly consuming your brain with that, like, oh my gosh, I need to watch this rock. It literally, sorry, it felt like I was in a flow state almost.
Okay.
Right? And hence the reason probably why they called it flow.
Yeah. Cool.
So it felt good. Again, I didn't have my like, wow, I feel great because I'm caffeinated and I can talk about it, right? But I just felt even, right? From a cognitive standpoint, not from an energy standpoint, right? Because like you said, there's no carbohydrates in here. It's just, it's cognitive benefits, right? So that was good. And even afterwards, I wasn't, and I don't know, listeners, if you feel this way, if you go for like a moderate, longer, whatever you're doing, sometimes you get, like my brain gets tired afterwards, right? Because of brain energy metabolism gets a little lower, right? I didn't feel that after this, which was really interesting, right? And I only consumed water during the ride. It's, it's like, maybe there's something there.
It's hard to say, with like placebo effect, because you could clone and blind yourself to.
I know.
But that doesn't take away from what your perceived experience is totally.
Exactly. Well, then I put it so that my trial number 2 was a non-exercise trial. This was it was a high cognitive functioning need day, like super stressful from a cognitive standpoint, right? And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to take this before my cognitive stress day, right? No exercise, no nothing, just normal, but just super high stress from a brain standpoint.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Dee, it was freaking amazing in that setting.
Okay.
I can't even tell you. It was, I literally cannot even describe it. It was like I was on point the whole time. And I was talking, I was interacting, and it was like, sometimes when it goes on and on and on and on, like this was a 5-hour stretch for me, right? Of just continual back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If I would do that at any time, and I'm sure you're there too, it's exhausting just to listen. Right.
Well, I was going to ask you, were your words per minute increased in your communication style? Because sometimes you talk quite a bit rapidly.
I do talk fast.
So, but you felt like you had it all together, and not like caffeine can be.
No, and interestingly,
ridiculous.
I did not do. Here's what I also did not do. I did not do any caffeine, no matcha, no coffee, no nothing, because I was like, go big or go home with this. So I didn't want the influence of any caffeine. And to your point, because my words per minute can actually increase quite a bit. Usually when I'm on caffeine or like really excited, I was actually making mental note when I was having all these conversations, all this stuff. I was like, wow, you know what? I'm actually not talking at a high rate right now.
Yeah.
Cause you know it when
Okay.
you do that, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
but it was even, it was flow,
All
right?
right. All right.
But I was really impressed because I thought for sure, like, listen, I could, usually, a couple hours, you're talking to people, you're like, okay, need a break. I didn't feel like I needed a cognitive break at all. It's
Okay.
weird. I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
I can't do it
It's
justice, but the experience that I had on the trail was great, right? Don't get me wrong, but there's so many confounding factors. But when I took it out of exercise and in that setting, that's where it shined for me. That's where I was like, I actually see and feel the benefits.
okay.
Yeah. Because when you're exercising, you got adrenaline, you got all these things that can happen and kind of mess with how you think you feel or perceive how you feel. So for me, thumbs up for this product. Absolutely. I mean, if you were to ask me, would I include this on a daily basis? I think, and the only reason I would say think is because I would just need to periodize it, right? Kind of like we were talking about. It's
Yeah.
not like I wouldn't do it always, but this is definitely in my daily routine right now, and
Okay.
I absolutely love the benefits. Now, that all said, because we talked about nitrates and blood pressure and all that stuff, health, vasodilation. It's great for that, right? I don't have high blood pressure, so it's not like I'm taking it for that. It's just, just because of the mental benefits that I saw, I cannot speak more highly about this product just based on my N of one experience with that particular setting. So you need to try it next.
I definitely am going to look into it,
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the cost? Are you on their website? What's the
Yeah.
price of this?
I was looking at that. It comes in looks like a 12 pack as the minimum purchase, upwards of a 48 pack. So, of course, the more you buy, the more you can save
Yeah,
per
yeah.
serving. But just for a single purchase, not their subscription, it would be about 350 per
Okay.
serving. Yeah.
350 a serving. So
Yeah.
again, 10 years ago, you've been like, what, 350? And these days,
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of right where we would expect something like this.
Yeah.
But again, I look at that, I'm like, well, they've got clinically effective doses of these ingredients in here. I mean, I see, like, I think their price point is kind of on point,
Yeah.
right? Because of what they're putting in here. And, I don't even like a lot of these pre-workout powders with caffeine, you'll probably get into the $2 to $4 per serving anyway, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of in that range, with it being a sport supplement or a pre-workout supplement, pre-life supplement, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the added benefit of informed sport certification, I
Right.
mean that has extra value there that's sometimes hard to put a price point on, but
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
kicks up the value of this product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess next, Dina will be trying this. Maybe we'll have another episode this year on her experience with it too, right? But yeah, I mean, if you want me to summarize everything, Dee, I think we'll put, Oomph Flow. We'll put all the details in terms of websites. You can kind of go visit, see what they're doing, see if it's for you or not. But yeah, I mean, overall, I give this a 2 thumbs up, to be honest with
Nice.
you. I like
Cool.
what they're doing. I appreciate that they have a sport dietitian on staff. Yeah, just all my boxes are checked with them.
Cool, Bob. Well, we'll put the links, in the show notes for everyone. And certainly if you, the listener, try it, we want to hear from you over in our free Patreon community. Great spot to interact with us and the others in the community. You can also join one of the other tiers to help support the show and keep us free of lengthy sponsor ads. But this is another great example, Bob, of just like kind of spreading the love, educating, try out some things and report back. Gives us some more insight on what y'all are trying and benefiting from.
All right, everyone. We're looking forward to interacting with you. As Dee said, head on over to our Patreon account, patreon.com/ISN podcast, and we will catch you on the next episode.